Namaskar. Welcome to another episode of What Does This Data Say? I am Ajay Prakash. Now, before I start today's episode, some of you have complained that you are not able to see the slides very clearly on your mobile phone. I am aware of this fact, and that's why I try to now zoom into the slides and also read out the contents to make the matter clear. However, for seeing the same episode on a slightly larger format, you can go to my website www.theinfodiggers.com. Now, today I am going to talk about the state of Karnataka. Now, Karnataka is an important state and will go to polls for the Legislative Assembly sometime next year in May. This is one of those 10 states which will be having the elections before the next general election in 2024. Now, currently, BJP is in power there, but I always keep saying that this is one state where BJP has been playing on the back foot all along while it has been in power. Now, there are several reasons for that. Now, 1 year is a very long time in politics, and I know anything can happen between now and 2023. But however, as on date, the data which I am going to show you points to the effect that BJP is really in trouble in Karnataka, and the state may well slip out of its hand if a course correction is not done immediately. Now, my senior in school, Anil Swarup, who is now a retired IAS officer, writes these small messages on Twitter and Instagram titled What Chanakya Did Not Say. Now, yesterday, one of his messages was very striking, and I'm going to read that out for you. He says, political victory sometimes gives an illusion that everything is well with the world. Such delusions can prevent the victors from appreciating the devastating impact of their policies and actions on social and economic fronts. Now, this message really applies to Karnataka and may as well apply to the central government. The previous elections of the State Assembly of Karnataka were held on 12th May 1918. And the results were declared on 15th May. So accordingly, now the next elections are due to be held in May 2023. Now here is a quick recap of the results of the 2018 elections and then the political turmoil that happened in Karnataka. The outcome of the election was that Congress won 80 seats, BJP won 104 and JDS won 37, and the rest of the 3 seats, one went to BSP, one independent and one KPJP. That was a total of 224 seats. However, vote share was totally different. The vote share of Congress was 38%, whereas that of BJP was 36 and 18% to the JDS. In May 2018, the governor of Karnataka was Shri Vajubhai Vala. He was earlier the speaker of the Gujarat Assembly, and needless to say, he is the member of the Bharatiya Janata Party. The governor so decided to call the largest party, and therefore BS Yeddyurappa was called in to make a government. He was sworn in and he was given 15 days time to prove his majority. Now that did not go well with the opposition, the Congress and the JDS. They approached the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court then turned down that period and made it 3 days. In 3 days, BS Yeddyurappa was unable to prove his majority, and he resigned on the day of the trial of strength. And that is how HD Kumaraswamy came to become the next Chief Minister with the support of the Congress. This coalition government led by HD Kumaraswamy lasted only for 14 months, and the turmoil started. Now I'll take a little detour and show you some demographic data of the state of Karnataka before I come back to this topic. So here is the minorities graph of Karnataka. If you see the yellow line, that is the percentage of minorities in the state with respect to the total population. So the highest number of minorities are in Dakshin Kannada, which is 32.7%. The next highest is in Dharwad, which is 24.19, and so on. And the least number of minorities are in Mandya, which is around 5%. The red line below shows the Muslim populations in the state, which more or less follows the minority graph, however, with a few aberrations, where in Bangalore, the Muslim percentage is only around 13%, and again in Udupi, there's a dip where it goes down to 8%. I have further color coded the minorities graph. So this is the map of Karnataka minority population. The dark blue areas are the ones which have the highest minorities. So it's Dakshin Kannada, and then Bidar, Gulbarga near to Telangana, and then Dharwad in the central parts and a little bit south of Bangalore. The rest of the areas are more close to white, which means the minority populations are less than 10% in that area. I just want to keep this map in your mind because I'll use it to compare some data in the next few slides. So here is the party position in the 2018 Karnataka Assembly. I've shown it in a map. The orange areas are where the BJP had won, the blue areas are where the Congress had won, and the green areas are where JDS has won. Mysore was fully dominated by JDS, whereas Bangalore, it was kind of a 50-50 seat share between the Congress and the BJP. Now I'll plot these two maps side by side so that you get a little bit of a clearer picture. So the minorities, wherever the minorities are little higher, there the Congress party does well. Now this is not a 1:1 map at all, but there still is some kind of correlation because the central area where there are less minorities is fully dominated by Bharatiya Janata Party. Now, exactly 1 year after the assembly polls, the Lok Sabha election was held in 2019. And here you see the outcome of the Member of Parliament elections in Karnataka. BJP got a sweeping victory in the state. Out of the 28 seats, BJP won 25 and only 3 seats went to Congress, JDS and Independent. Now, the local government being a coalition between the JDS and the Congress, it shows how strong the BJP had made this comeback. It further shows that there is no correlation between the assembly polls and the parliament polls. Now, such being the results, what happened further in the state was kind of inevitable. One of the BJP candidates who won this election was a young, energetic, radical RSS Swayamsevak by the name of Tejasvi Surya. Now, who doesn't know him today? He won that election by defeating the Congress candidate by a record margin of over 331,000 votes. He assumed the office as an MP at the young age of 28 years. Now, 2 months later, in July 2019, 16 rebel MLAs from the Congress and the JDS resigned from their seats and joined BJP. It could well be a coincidence that 6 out of the 13 MLAs which jumped the ship were from Bangalore area. Names really don't matter. It is the number that counts. All these MLAs in their own rights were stalwarts in politics. They were associated with either the Congress or the JDS for a long time and were known loyalists of their party leadership. Therefore, it came as a big shock, especially to Kumaraswamy, when people like Vishwanath Gopalayya and especially Narayan Gowda ditched him. Due to these defections, the Kumaraswamy government became a minority government, and Kumaraswamy finally resigned on 23rd July 2019. BS Yeddyurappa was once again made the Chief Minister of Karnataka. As BJP puts it, now there was a double engine government working in Karnataka. The retribution, therefore, started. The central government went all out hammer and tong against Congress's DK Shivakumar. And what was his crime? He did not let the BJP form a government at the first instance in 2018. He managed his MLAs very well so that they could not be poached. And that did not go down well with the BJP leadership. In September 2019, Shivakumar was arrested by the Enforcement Directorate on charges of money laundering. He was put behind bars in Tihar jail. Shivakumar was then released by the Delhi High Court in October 2019. Matters were so worse that the ED even had questioned his daughter, a 25-26-year-old girl, for more than 8 hours. Like many of the dramatized questionings done by either ED or the NCB, this is a similar case. Shivakumar is out on bail. It is almost 3 years and the case has not progressed as on date. By-elections on 25 seats were held between November 2018 and October 2021. BJP added 17 assembly seats through by-elections, lost out on 2 seats, while on 6 seats there was no change of party. BJP gained 12 crucial seats after the defection of 15 MLAs in 2019. Now, in the last part of this episode, I will just show you who were these 15 MLAs who had jumped the ship and how the party had benefited them. I will only talk of those MLAs whose defection had made the Kumaraswamy government fall in 2019. So here is a list of those MLAs. I have split the list in 3 parts so that you can view them on your mobile phone. The names are not important. The people marked in yellow are the key conspirators. They were all in the Congress party before the by-election, and once they switched the party, they won the election on a BJP ticket. And then look at the portfolios which were assigned to these people. Chairman, Karnataka State Slum Development Board and Minister of Handloom. Then we have Minister of Minority, Minister of Major and Medium Irrigation, and so on, Minister of Labour. Only Ramesh Jarkiholi was a minister earlier with the Kumaraswamy government. I continue this list. These are the next 5 names. Only Anand Singh was a minister earlier. All other 4 were MLAs and were made ministers in the new cabinet. The last 3 names here, and they were also MLAs, all of them got a ministerial berth. I will also tell you today's party position in the Karnataka Assembly. In the Assembly, there are total 225 seats. 224 are elected and 1 is nominated. BJP has 121 members, Congress 69 and JDS 32. The Legislative Council, BJP has 37, Congress 26, JDS 10. The opposition and the ruling party here is equally divided in the 75 seats. So it is not that today BJP enjoys a huge majority. If those 15 or 20 people decide to go back to their original parties, this government can also fall. Now, why do I say it will be difficult for BJP to win the next election? Just have a look at some of these points. Firstly, BJP remains wary of the defectors. They are not trusting these people and they feel that if they are removed as ministers, these people can jump the ship and go back to either Congress or JDS. Then there is severe resentment among the MLAs who gave up their seats to make way for the defectors. Now these BJP people have been fighting elections for many years and have lost against the Congress, and at the time when they feel they could now get a chance, their seat has been taken away from them. Now Point number 3, all the defectors were made ministers or given a high ranking position. Now, where does that leave the BJP Karyakarta who has been there for years, and he feels that only defectors stand a chance in the state of Karnataka to become a minister. BS Yeddyurappa had to make way for Basavaraj Bommai as Karnataka Chief Minister. The 70-year-old BJP strongman had crossed the party's unwritten rule of retirement at 75. So he is not too happy about it, and he remains active in politics, and this is something the BJP leadership is not liking. Another point where the MLAs are unhappy is that the much awaited cabinet expansion is not happening. In the meantime, there were allegations of corruption against ministers of the BJP, the well-known case of Yeddyurappa having to resign on account of a person who committed suicide and who said that the minister had demanded a huge sum of money for passing his bills. Another laughable point which Amit Shah has done is he has called out a mission 150 in the next election. Now, BJP already has 121 seats. Whenever BJP sets a target, we all know that they don't reach anywhere near the target. So if Amit Shah says they will aim only for 150, there is a likelihood that BJP is going to fall short of 100 seats in the next election. And whenever BJP is on the back foot, we all know what happened. The famous rule of 80-20, which was applied in Uttar Pradesh, is now available to be used in other places. The hijab law spread unrest in several districts, so much so that ahead of the college opening in February this year, Section 144 had to be imposed in 9 districts. A few weeks ago, a Hindu task force was formed by a Swami from Bangalore to prevent the cases of alleged love jihad and protect the Hindu identity in the coastal region. Now, following the incidents of attacks on Muslim traders and calls for their boycott by right-wing activists, the former BJP Chief Minister BS Yeddyurappa and one senior minister, Madhuswamy, have demanded to end the divisive politics and have told this to the central leadership. So right now, all is not well with Karnataka politics. Yesterday, Amit Shah had to rush to Karnataka to try to sort out the issues. Now, how far he will be successful is not very clear. Before Amit Shah's arrival, it was rumored that the Chief Minister, Basavaraj Bommai, is going to be changed. But the statement came from Yeddyurappa that there will be no change of leadership. Anyway, in days ahead, it's going to be very interesting. We'll keep a watch on Karnataka. This is all for this week's episode. I'll meet you again next week with some other interesting data. Till then, goodbye and namaskar.